Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we are doing something a whole lot different for me. We're going to be using die cuts, no Copic markers, just distress inks. So I'm using the Winter Bouquets set, which is beautiful, and then the Christmas Blessing stamps and dies. So these coordinate together, cut the sentiments out in some pretty fun shapes. I'm cutting out all of my pieces in Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock because I am going to do the coloring, like the shading with the distress inks. If you wanted to it's kind of like a hack. You could cut these out of individual colors. I've always just found it easiest to do it all out of white. So here is all of those pieces parts cut out. Just ran that through my Spell by Nurse Platinum. But I did leave the berries together. Just FYI on that. And did I even use those? I don't even remember. I'm going to be quite honest. So I'm separating everything out into color families because it's easiest to color everything the same way. So I'm just going to warn you, I'm going to do the berries and the poinsettia at regular speed, and then I am going to speed it up because it's the same thing over and over again, just a few little like highlights or different things that I did based on the shape. I'm going to cover them entirely in my lightest color. This is actually how I did all of my coloring before I learned how to color with Copics. This is no joke. I was so desperate for dimension in my card making that this was the way that I found to do it. So we'll come back to this because I have funny stories about it. But anyway, so you can see like the beautiful detail that the die puts into it. The lines and the petals, they're super pretty. Once I'm done covering all of them with the lightest color, I'm going to start adding shading with my next two darkest colors. So that's going to be Fired Brick. I didn't, I should have, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't buff off my first edge. I just went straight to the paper and it was too much. So here I am trying to blend it out. It didn't blend out great. This flower does have a center, so I'm not super concerned about it, but don't make the same mistake I did. Make sure that you blot some of it off on craft mat, scrap paper, what have you, before you put it directly onto your flower. Here I'm concentrating most of the shading right in the center of the flower because where it meets its center, that's where it would be the darkest. For the berries, just pick which way you want to add the shading. I added it to the left and the right so that there was a little bit of shading on those outside berries. And then you can see like I have purple tape that's holding it all together because what a nightmare it would be to do each individual one. And then the aged mahogany is going to be my darkest color, and that I will just put on the very, very edge of the berries. And then just really very concentrated in the center. You'll see I'm kind of tipping up my, well, it's hard to see because I'm right-handed, sorry. I'm just kind of tipping up the side of my ink blender so that I'm just really getting the color into the center. It's almost going down in like an oval shape. And then that's how I'm going to do all of this coloring. All of this will be the same way. It will be various color combinations to get that shading. All of the color combinations you'll be able to see. They'll be in here. I'm just going to speed up the actual ink blending because there is so much of it and I will bore you to tears if you have to watch all of it at regular speed. So, like I was saying, back in the day before I really knew how to get any sort of dimension with my markers and I was unhappy with the way that my shading looked. And you know, if you have watched my videos for a while, that I owned my markers for a long time, for years, before I ever really colored with them. Back to the card really quickly. I am going to go back in with my lightest color just to make sure everything is saturated and blend those colors together a little bit better. I just find that works the best. You know, when I do my distress inkings for backgrounds or anything, I always do it twice, so this should really be no surprise. So yeah, anywho, I was just so greedy for dimension in my card making that I was just trying to find any way that I could to do it, since I could not figure out how to do it with my Copics. So I would, this is no joke. I was committed to the craft, guys. I was committed. I would stamp an image twice. I would fussy cut one out, and I would cut the other one apart, completely apart. So wherever I wanted there to be shading, where an arm met a torso, where the sweater sat on top of a pair of jeans, where I needed things to be 2 different colors, that was a big one. I would cut the entire image apart, and then I would color them with my distress inks. I would ink blend all of them, add my shading, and then on the image that I had fussy cut out, I would piece it back together so that the image looked whole and still had shading. I could probably find maybe I'll have to go back and look on my Flickr, but if I don't, then you should, because it's funny. And honestly, they didn't look terrible, which is why I'm still back here doing this technique. So for the pine cones, I'm using antique linen as my base, and then I'm going to add some shading with some vintage photo and walnut stain, I think. And again, these ones I'll just go around the outside edges with. There's not really anything in the center to shade, so I'm just going to go ahead and let that be my highlight. So yeah, if you are struggling with getting shading, and you don't mind something that's a little bit more time consuming, try this for stamped images. I much prefer it now for just die cuts. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think that there is a way to add dimension to die cuts, and I don't necessarily know that it's done enough. But you definitely can, and this is a really easy way to do it. Now, like I said, you could use like the little cheat if you cut the like the pine cones out of brown and then just added the shading with the vintage photo and the walnut stain, or cut the holly out of green and then just added the shading with your darker colors. That's absolutely a way to make it go faster and use less ink. Another thing to note is I don't wear gloves. It doesn't bother me to get messy or inky or any of those things. But you will for sure, at least one finger, at least the one finger that's holding them will probably get ink on it. So yeah, that was a long time ago. I don't even know if I probably didn't do a video, because I think by the time I was doing videos, I was pretty comfortable, with my Copic coloring. I don't say like I was, an expert, because I'm still not an expert. Always learning about different ways to do things and different techniques with those. But yeah, it was a long time ago. I remember a little, it was a Hero Art set. The majority of my collection in the very beginning was all Hero Arts. I love Hero Arts. And that hasn't changed. I still love their stuff. But it was a little girl set for the winter, and I loved to make card sets. So I would do rainbow card sets. It would be the same card with the same layout, and I would just do them all different color combinations so that they were a rainbow of color. And that one, like, I had to cut off her hat and her face. Dried marigold was my go-to for skin tones. And then I had to cut, I think, out her scarf, her body, and it had like snowflakes on it. But yeah, I made like 5 or 6 of those things, and I cut apart every one of them, every single little girl for each card, so that I could color them with distress inks and then piece them back together so that they would have some shading. Maybe that's the one I'll look for. It's still got to be there. All my stuff's still in Flickr, which was huge at the time. But anywho, back to the card at hand. I do want to mention, this is from the new Honeybee release, which is the Season to Sparkle. It's amazing. It's got so much good stuff in it. But also it's Halloween. Hello, happy Halloween. We'll at a later date we'll be discussing the Halloween costume situation, which is what I spent my entire night doing tonight. But they're having a sale. It's a 15% off sale of everything that's Halloween / fall. So even if you're not a Halloween person, which not everybody is, and that's cool. There are still lots of fall, autumn related things that you can pick up for 15% off. So that will be, if you're watching on YouTube, linked in the description below. Here I'm doing my background. This is the same, I think I do this background quite a bit. This is like my go-to color combination for blue. So it's Salty Ocean, Blueprint Sketch, Chip Sapphire, and Black Soot. I just wanted something interesting for these, this bouquet to sit on. So I'm just adding that to the outside edges. It's darker on the edges, staying lighter in the center to highlight that focal point. Speaking of highlight, can we talk about my super cool nails? I mean, normally I'm not one to like pat myself on the back or anything, and I certainly didn't create the nail polish, but it is wicked cool. It's magnetic nail polish, and I think it's amazing. So I got mine from Live Love Polish. They have a bunch of different colors. Mine is purple and like a teal color. And basically what you do is you paint your nail black, like black base nail polish. And then you put a very generous amount of the magnetic nail polish on top. And then you hold a magnet over it in whatever direction or design that you want. So for me, like I just went with a diagonal stripe. You hold it there for 10 seconds. You can watch it move. It is super cool. And then, you know, for the rest of however long you wear it, you'll nearly crash into the vehicle in front of you while you're driving because you will be so taken with your nail polish in the sun. Yes, that's what happened. I promise you. So anyway, they didn't send me. I thought that there should be a like when I purchased it, it showed a magnet as like the secondary picture. And so I thought that the magnet would come with it, but there was no magnet when it got here. But thankfully, due to Misty, thank you, Misty, I had a super strong magnet. So I used one of those medical cuticle pushers, and I put my Misty magnet on the end of it, and then that is what I used to do my nails. It does work the best when you first put the nail polish on and it's super wet, and when they say a generous amount, they mean a generous amount, because you have to have enough to move it. Once it starts drying, the magnet won't move it anymore. So just FYI, if you decide to get the magnetic nail polish, I would recommend it because I think it's cool. So here, now that all of the inking is done, I just got to add all the things to it. So I am using just clean water to spatter some water droplets on this. Then I am going to use some Perfect Pearls just to add some shine there. So this will, if you've never seen me use it before, then you must have never seen a video of mine before. I used way too much water here, PPS. But I was just pouring it out of a water bottle, so in my defense, it was not an accurate pour. Pouring utensil, cup, measuring cup. It wasn't good, guys. That's what I'm getting at. So here, this is just going to add some shimmer. It's going to, a different kind of bleaching that background. And then last but not least, I'm really loving these Nuvo mica mists because they add shimmer with color in them, and that is making me smile. So this one was the Midnight Horizon mica mist from Nuvo, and that one is super cool because I love anything navy. Navy's just like, well, blue is my boyfriend, but navy just makes me so happy. It's a good color in general. I feel like it's a good, almost like a neutral. It goes with so many things. But anywho, so here I am just treating my black cardstock with my anti-static tool. I'm going to stamp in Clear Mark from Nuvo. This is very similar to any other embossing ink that you've used, Versamark, all those. But I am lazy. Yes, I am. I can admit it. and my Versamark pad needs to be re-inked, which requires effort on my part. And I like this particular ink just as well. It's very good. So I feel no reason to put forth the effort that it would take me to re-ink the Versamark when this one is already in my drawer. So I'm going to sprinkle some white embossing powder on that, tap off the excess, and then heat set it until it is all smooth and glossy. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the die in place to cut this out. I love the shapes of these. I think they're totally adorable. So now all of my pieces are cut out, and I'm going to start trying to build this bouquet. I knew I was going to have my sentiment popped up over my bouquet, so I just went ahead and added that foam tape right away so I could kind of slide some things behind it and get a feel for how I wanted that to look. Same thing with the bow. I knew that it was going to be right up front in the beginning, so I'm going to put some foam tape on that as well. Just so I can see what it will look like. And then this is the full bouquet. I'm going to be honest with you, real talk. I wish the bouquet was just a smidge to the left. Okay, it's a little too far to the right. It's just a little heavier on the right hand side. I didn't catch it when I was in it. I probably could trim off the left hand side and it wouldn't be like a huge deal, but I was worried that I would take away too much of that distress ink background, so I decided to just kind of let it ride. For the poinsettias, this larger one I'm actually going to layer with the smaller one, so that it has, kind of some fun dimension. You obviously could layer these multiple times. The sizes all work really nicely together. And then I'm just going to glue the center of it down and then go back about my business of building this bouquet. So, yeah, there hasn't really been, there's been a lot going on. I'm very tired and I feel like I'm forgetting everything. Like, I don't know if I'm the only person that happens to. Like, there's just too much on your plate and then things get forgotten, but it's making me very frustrated with myself, and I know that means that I need to reevaluate and see what I have going on in my life and where I can pull some time from so that I can stop feeling overwhelmed most of the time. It's just kind of a hectic time right now, which is okay. I know that it will eventually die back down and I'll be able to go about my regular business. But it just feels very much like just crazy town USA right now. Even like traffic. Okay, even like the other day. This is something that we all have to deal with. Okay, we all have to get from point A to point B. But it's about to be November. It's October in Ohio. We are 24 hours away from November, and there's still mad construction going on, and there's just no good way to even get to work. That's where I'm at. Like, even my commute is making me super, super snarky. Back to the card. So I'm just using a Post-it note, just a cheap little Post-it note that I cut in half to mask my sentiment, because I wanted this card to have like some snow on it. So I'm using a stiff bristle brush and lightly, very little water, added that to some white acrylic paint, and then I'm spattering that on the background. I will eventually take off the mask because I don't want there to be like a square of what's missing, but once the majority of the paint is gone, so I have a lot more control over where it goes. I'm also going to add some Stardust stickles because I don't know about you, but I love the sparkly. I can't help it. It's like a real thing in my life. But also I just love like the little home decor stuff that you get that has like the glitter on the pine cones and stuff like that. And so I just kind of wanted to recreate that. And then I did add, I think, some further glitter with like a glitter pen. And then that was pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit up that sale for 15% off. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.